Welcome everybody. My name is Maralee Burnett. I am your astrologer and I am back as promised with a breakdown of just the new moon solar eclipse that happens at 29 degrees of the sign of Virgo here on Sunday, September 21st. As I'm recording this or trying, we also have Mercury at that spot this week, giving us a little bit of a preview. So whatever is coming up today in the news, in the world, watch it escalate and come to some kind of a giant conclusion as of this weekend. But trust, as in all things that are removed from us, there's a purpose behind it and something better is waiting for you. Of course, all of these little nuggets of information have been coming to you over the weeks preceding this. If you've been clicking on that subscribe button, and if not, now's a great time to do that. That way you'll get notification every time I post new content. You can also tune in daily. That way you'll get access to my tarot card reading. So I pull a tarot card message every day, and I usually sprinkle in a little bit of astrology knowledge along with that. So it really gets you a nice big picture of the energy that's going on for the day. You can, of course, go out to my website, maraleeburnett.com, to access all of these things, including the links to these YouTube videos. Also, you get my written content out there. So right now you should be looking at the rest of the month of September, reading the separate new moon solar eclipse article. And if you're really curious about the remainder of the year, so far I have October and November out there. December will be shortly to follow. And those also have their new moon and full moon articles included. The energy just keeps on giving, and we have a lot to still work through in the year ahead, and I'm really keeping an eye out on that November new moon, which is Mercury Cazimi new moon, which is very unique. So lots to uncover as usual, and you might be able to squeeze in a session about the eclipse between now and Sunday, but those are filling very quickly. So maybe you can sneak one in. You'll have to contact me if you're feeling really, really stressed out about all the change that's coming your way. But don't stress. That's my biggest piece of advice, even though it is hard. And there are hard choices for some of us that are coming. Don't shy away from them. Don't worry. Don't overthink it. That's a very Virgo thing. It's time to have that faith and trust in the process and let go what no longer serves you. Even if staying would seem to prove a point, it's not worth it. This is not worth it. So with that, as usual, I look at the AstroGold software. I have a picture of just the new moon solar eclipse up for you, and we will break it all down, just looking at all of the energy specifically for this day. However, let's cover a couple of pre-topics, I guess. Pre-events, how's that? That's a better way of saying that. That have led us here, right? Now, eclipses, of course, are about the North Node and the South Node. They are faded points in the sky, but they're not a physical body, and they surround the moon. And so the moon is our feelings and our intuition, and we really want to trust it, especially during eclipse season. Now, every about 18 and a half, 19 years, depends on the signs that they're moving through, the nodes travel through, and for about 18 months, they give us lessons, showing us things from the past that we need to let go of, showing us a better way forward through the North Node, and really teaching us how to balance the two. Because anytime we have opposition, which is these red lines, you are working on how to balance the needs of both ends of that spectrum. And the North Node and the South Node are always in opposition of one another. So it's not that we're trying to only go to the North light and shy away from the South. We're trying to make sure that we have incorporated the learnings of the South Node into the lessons of this North Node and find that sweet spot between the two. We may tend to fall back on our South Node in times of stress because we know all that. It's safe for us. However, when we rely on those skill sets too much, then we become stagnant and we don't grow into the North Node. And then those lessons and our life path take much, much longer to complete. And trust me, you don't want to be completing North Node lessons over and over and over again. No. So here we have at the time of an eclipse, which happens every 6 months, this opportunity to do some of this karmic fated work. Now, we are almost at the halfway point of the nodes going between the Pisces and Virgo energy. We're at 18. We'll officially be halfway at the end of the year. And then it will be next July that our lessons will shift and change. They'll shift and change into Leo and Aquarius work, which will be very different from Virgo and Pisces work. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. This is the end of something. This is the end of a chapter, and it's a 9-year. 2025 adds up to the number 9. So this year is and has been about closure and cycles that are ending. And now we get another one of those opportunities to end something, to let something go, because of the fact that the new moon, the moon and sun coming together in the sign of Virgo, are sitting near the South Node. Now, it's not close enough for this to be a significant solar eclipse, so it's considered a partial solar eclipse, but it's still impactful, especially because it's at this 29 degree, this powerful, anoretic, gigantic test happens to be a part of this new beginning. So you are tested. You are being tested on being willing to let something go and trusting the process of how that letting go needs to happen. And it's intense. Now, Virgo is the 6th house, and the sign of Virgo is, I like to think of it as like, here's your naturopath doctor. Here's somebody who considers ways to heal that are more alternative. We're using crystals. We're using essential oils. We're looking at hypnosis, right? It's all things that don't fall within a prescription bottle. And Pisces can be more about the doctors, the nurses. That can be about the Pope and religion. It can also be about artists and music, right? These are our gifts that in order to expand upon them, we have to let go of being perfect. Another Virgo tendency is, I like to say, OCD-ness overload. That's Virgos. Every detail, everything stands out, every error, every lump, every bump, every mistake. If you're a Virgo, you need to let all of that go now. And especially you Virgos, having a South Node go through your first house, your identity is going through a complete change and transformation at this time. And the work is hard. The work is difficult when it's at 29 degrees. So I said there's some pre-events. We had a new moon that happened in August. It happened also in Virgo. So we have 2 new moons in a row in the same sign. And interestingly enough, the first one happened at 0 degrees. So the 0 point, a whole reset, like the Fool card, you were asked to take a leap of faith in some area of your life. Now, 29's the last degree, and you're being asked to let something go, to complete something, and to trust the process of how that something leaves your life. No controlling outcomes, no over analyzing, no overthinking. You just have to let it go. And if you don't, the energy will be so difficult that you will regret it. This isn't the time for staying stuck in repeating patterns. You cannot do that at this time. It's time for a real change. So that's our goal. Let go of control, get in the flow. Pisces is the flow, right? It's water energy. This Virgo energy is very heavy, and because the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, and Mercury's in Libra, there is a chance that there are some of you who may be letting go of significant relationships. There may be some of you that are ending lawsuits. These are all things that have to do with Libra. It's about fairness and justice and balance and commitment and marriages, business partnerships. All those things can fall in here. And Mercury is about how do we communicate? How do we think about our commitments? How do we think about the law? How do we think about justice? And as I mentioned, Virgo can be very controlling energy because of the fact that literally it's all about the facts and all the details and all the information. And so somebody's been trying to control and suppress information, and that suppression could escalate at the time of this eclipse. So always remember, we have a choice. We can choose to do the work and let these things go, controlling information, suppressing information, keeping information from the public, or we can release it. And so we'll see a little bit of both. And those who try to suppress it are going to go to extreme measures to do so because of that 29-degree energy. So it is really intense and difficult, but you have to stay in the light yourself and not feed into it. And when we are working against the darkness, the light has to shine even brighter. So make sure that you're staying on the light side of things and not adding to the darkness, which means no panic, no escalation, no I told you so's. None of that helps. And don't judge people. Don't assume you know the truth when you don't. If you don't have the facts, Virgo, don't assume you do. Don't make up scenarios to fill your ego and make it feel better, because it doesn't work. It's just an empty, unending cycle, and you want to get out of that. So another piece of pre-event information can do with the year 2006. This was the last time that we happened to have this same eclipse in these same signs at these same degrees. And there can be clues there from that eclipse that are showing up again now. There might be a chapter that you've been living for the last 19 years and you're ready to be done with it. And so this again can bring tremendous closure. Now the energy isn't exactly the same, so it doesn't mean, for those of you who are like, oh my God, I don't want to experience 2006 again. You don't have to. Hopefully you learned the lesson and you didn't carry karma from it, so it's not repeating now. But it's just a way to look back in history to see, what are these eclipses bringing? What are they bringing to the collective? What was happening in 2006 that we can learn from this time around? So just some things to think back on as we go through this energy this weekend. Now, I did do a brief summary too of the energy in this week's video. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. But again, just high level, we always look at what's going on at the time of any lunar event because it affects what's happening, right? The moon is our emotional self. It's a blank slate at a new moon. And of course, the sun is our ego self, and what's shining a light on our desires and our ability to succeed. And so together, right, we feel complete at a new moon and ready to start something new. We're on the same page with our ego self and our emotional self and what our wishes and desires are. Well, in the sign of Virgo, our wishes and desires are for good health, are for healthy routines in our day-to-day life, cleansing ourselves of anything that's toxic in our life that could have to do with the work that we do, because the sixth house rules work. It could have to do with our health, how we work out, the type of foods that we eat. It could be the kind of work that we do. Very detail-oriented work is Virgo, like being in project management, for example, somebody who pays attention to all the facts and all the details and captures them all. But if something about that just isn't aligning with you anymore, then you're ready for a fresh start and you're ready to let go of any toxic behaviors. It's a great time for changing your diet, because the South Node there is supporting you and helping you release your attachment to addictive foods, for instance. This also can do with you being overly critical of yourself. So again, intentions that you set during an eclipse should only be about eclipsing out behaviors and things from your life that will open up a pathway to the future, but don't try to define what that future looks like. But this isn't really one where you do a traditional new moon ceremony where you're planning your future. You're planning on letting go of karma at a time of an eclipse. And so again, it could be karma tied back to 2006. It could be something that started in August of this year. Every story is unique and it has everything to do with your individual chart. So we have some tension on top of it being a new moon and a solar eclipse. And that comes from Saturn in the sign of Pisces, where that North Node is sitting in retrograde. It's helping us dissolve the things that we've been working on for almost 3 years now with Saturn in Pisces, especially those things where we don't have healthy boundaries. So this is the time. We have to finish the work. We have to leave the situations. We have to reinforce our boundaries, and we have to do it now. And then Neptune in Aries, it's helping us go back and realize our dream, the dream that we had for ourselves, and our need and desire for independence. So both of these are in retrograde, and they are both saying, guess what? You can't start this new thing without dealing with your past, without finishing the work that's currently in progress with Saturn and Neptune. So there is no just skipping ahead, skipping timelines and saying, woohoo, I'm starting fresh and new. Nope, we have to give ourselves grace for any mistakes we've made in the past. We have to allow ourselves to get back to the dream we had for ourselves in the past, and the dream that we had to be creative, to be spiritual, to be healthy, right? There, whatever's getting in the way of that, we've been doing the review work, and now we're at a point where we're pausing and showing up and letting go of these situations from the past that are blocking our future. That's the work. And like I said, there's give and take. This is an opposition. So before we can get to that new beginning, we have to have awareness of our past. And it's true for the collective, and it's true for us as individuals, especially those individuals that have planets in these very last degrees of these two signs, any signs in particular, but especially if you have 29-degree planets in Virgo, in Pisces, you're under probably a significant amount of pressure right now. And just try to relax and trust the process and keep asking the universe what it is that you're hoping to receive from the process, but trust that you also don't get to fully vote. You just get to respond in the way that feels right for you. But I don't recommend lashing out. So that's the tension that's created. But if you look, we also have this kite formation that's been loosely formed for a while now. It's been activated several different times because of the fact that we've had this Saturn and Neptune energy going back and forth through here. And so that's been at the tip of the kite. And then at the tail of the kite, anything that's been moving through Virgo has been activating this kite again as well. So we saw it happen when Mars moved through here weeks ago. We've seen it recently with Mercury moving through here, and we'll see it again when we see Venus move through here in a few weeks. So this storyline between the end of Virgo and the beginning of Libra, it keeps getting activated. And when it gets activated at a time of an eclipse, this says whatever it is that we need to get off the ground, there's a sense of urgency about it now. And the tail, what provides the direction for your kite, is through this portal that's being opened at the time of this eclipse through this sign of Virgo. There can be health events for the collective. There can be events that may disrupt the earth. This is intense energy because of the earthness connected to Virgo and the earth being under a lot of pressure. This is just, it's not the time for playing games. It's not the time for instigating anything. I was telling somebody else this week, it's not the time to poke the bear or poke the snake, whatever it is. It's the time to start planning, getting all the details and letting things unfold as they will around you. And then after we get through this intense experience, through the next 2 weeks, as we head to that next full moon, that's going to be a better time to start putting things in motion. But we have a lot of things to get through before that's going to be possible. So that kite is formed by this minor triangle that we've been talking about for several months now, that includes that Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn and Neptune here at the top, and then Uranus in Gemini. And all of them are retrograde. Outer planets bring inner work. And when they're all retrograde together, there's things going on beneath the surface, behind the scenes, that we have no control over. But you can feel it. There's something percolating beneath the surface. And these planets bring collective change. And we're seeing it here in the United States. There's a huge transformation going on. And it's not what we came here to fight for, but it's trying to make a resurgence. So we'll see, what will this end of the story look like? So there's something that's going on there, but they're working together. These are trines, these are sextiles. This is where the helpful energy comes in. So this is where these two air signs with Aquarius and Gemini, this is information from the past. These are teachers from the past. These are groups that help one another finding their way back. And of course, we've talked about Saturn. In the past, Saturn gives you the structure and the rules to follow, and Neptune here gives you the faith. So these are all themes to help us launch whatever this is for us in our lives. And then this Pluto energy is speaking in harmony with this new moon, and it will continue to speak in harmony with both the sun and the moon as they quickly move into the sign of Libra. So they will speak in harmony from the air sign with Uranus, Pluto. So there is an agreement. There is a contract. There is a renegotiation of some kind that is a part of this kite, this opportunity that is created from tension. But once it gets lifted off the ground, once the blocks get removed so your kite can fly, it's going to fly really high. So this has been in the works for a while. Different opportunities have been showing up. We've had different yods or fingers of God that show up as well. We will continue to have more of those. There's still so much going on. Adding to the intensity is Mars in Libra, also at that critical 29 degrees. Now, it's not directly associated with this energy, but we call this a semi-sextile. It's 30 degrees away from the new moon. And Mars is a warrior. So there's something about fighting for justice that is happening at the time of this new moon. And there's a test. Will we pass the test? Will we make sure that justice is served? Chances of that happening in an indirect way are very strong because of the fact that Mars makes this odd angle back to that Neptune and Saturn energy. So it's almost as if the justice that needs to be served is justice that should have been handed out in the past but wasn't. However, things may change course very quickly because this is fate. Or there's just going to be attacks on justice. There can be relationships that are fraught with conflict. That can be about wars escalating. So as you can imagine, the energy is already really intense. And then we have this extra surge of energy from Mars at the time. So I keep telling people, just be careful, take a step back. Don't try to push anything. Don't get into arguments. Just let all of this move through as it's needed to. And you do all the healthy things. Try and get enough rest. If you can't sleep at night because the energy is so chaotic, try to get some naps in. Watch what you're eating. Drink enough water. Eat the healthy foods. And do whatever you can to eliminate stress. And clean out your clutter. Is the best way to clear negative stuck energy is to organize the things around you. Whether it's just your desk, which mine needs a little organization as I'm looking at it, or if it's your whole house, if it's your car, maybe it's all of the things. Well, this weekend leading up to the eclipse, I recommend you go through and get everything that you have in a pile of, oh, we'll get to that, put away. If you're going to get to it and it's not right now, put it away and get to it. Put it on a list so you remember where it is, what you wanted to do, but just don't leave everything laying around like your laundry that's clean and you haven't folded it. Fold it. Don't leave anything undone if possible through this weekend so that you've cleared the energy. This is a great time for saging your house. It's not a good time to recharge your crystals. They don't want this energy, but it is great for any activities that have to do with cleansing and clearing. That's what an eclipse does. Okay. Anything else I want to call out here? This other conflicting energy. Leading up to this week, we had Venus in the sign of Leo, and she was speaking in harmony with Mars, creating a partnership, and their energy has begun to separate. And as Venus entered into the sign of Virgo, so that's now more energy in the sign of Virgo, it is in a difficult conversation here with Uranus. So again, these are conflicts between men and women. These can be conflicts about digital information, conflicts regarding the facts. What's interesting to me always is that Virgo is always in a square to the sign of Gemini, and yet Mercury rules them both. I always just think there's something not quite right that Mercury squares itself as ruler of both of these signs. Some tend to think Chiron is a better ruler for the sign of Virgo for many reasons. But for now, it's still Mercury. So this is why information can be so challenging. Travel can be so challenging. Why? When Mercury goes retrograde, it seems like everything goes wonky because so many people are impacted by it as it rules over both of these houses. So as Uranus brings surprises, surprising information, continues to shock us, it has been having a difficult conversation with Venus leading up to this eclipse. So again, we've got this challenging information of change. And as we were talking about Mars in Libra, well, Mars in Libra, as it will jump right over into the sign of Scorpio, where it's really going to dig things up and things are going to be even more intense over the next 6 weeks, especially in the beginning as it squares with Pluto. So we have conflict, we have wars, we have fighting, and it isn't going to be subtle. This is going to affect large groups of people because of the fact that Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius. So this affects large groups of people. And Mars in Scorpio, that's its home sign. It loves being there. It loves hiding beneath the surface of the water and stirring up trouble. So something to watch for that could get kicked off at the time of this eclipse. And then especially over the next 2 weeks, we will be dealing with the aftermath of the eclipse. All right. A little saving grace is that we do still have Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, and it is still speaking in harmony with the nodes. So there is this opportunity again for healing, for caring and nurturing for others. And as we do that, we can get through this crunchy period a little easier. So if you have an opportunity to help somebody, not handicap them, help them, care for them, nurture, listen to them, but don't own their healing, do that. Jupiter is a wise and benefic teacher, and it's handing out advice that's coming in at just the right time. So you definitely want to listen. All right. And again, for more details about this whole week, because there was the Chiron opposition with Mars, there's a lot of tension going on this week. And we, as I said, as I've been recording this, and it's been difficult, it's with Mercury at 29 degrees of Virgo, there's almost too much detail. There's too much information, and it can be really overwhelming and hard to get your thoughts straight on what it is that you're trying to understand. But this eclipse is about to make it very clear on just what that is. All right, so if you were watching me, you're going to hear this new moon opportunity in the same house as last month's new moon. However, you need to look at your chart because not usually, unless you follow whole sign or equal houses systems, which I don't, I follow Placidus, it's rare that you're going to have the new moon and, well, both new moons in the same house. So even though I'm going to call it out in the same house, it may be the next house, but only you know by creating a free chart at somewhere like astro.com, or of course booking a session with me so I can do your chart for you so that you understand exactly the work that is ahead of you. And if you happen to have any personal planets at 29 degrees, which is an area of your life that has always been a test for you and felt very intense. Okay, I'm taking a swig here. Let us start with the sign of Aries. So Aries, as usual, because you're the first sign, this is the 6th house. The Virgo house is your 6th house. And as I said earlier, the 6th house is the last house where we're working on our identity through our own self's work. And the 6th house is the work you do And you want to make sure you're doing work that aligns with this Virgo energy and any other planets that are in there to support you. So if you are not aligned in the right job, then this is a time where some major changes can happen. And that could mean that you're moving away from the company altogether. A company may remove you. You may change roles. Someone may change your role for you. Whatever happens, do not stress out about it when it comes to your job, because there's a reason for it. You're either not showing up honestly every day and you hate the work that you do and you're just going to get through it. And that's no way to live, especially when this is the energy that is supposed to be healthy for you on a day-to-day basis. So there's a challenge between the first house of self, where you have that Neptune energy, helping you reconnect to the dream that you had when you first started this process, and your career. So is one ending so a new one can begin? Or is it something to do with your health? Every story will be unique, but I'm going to give you some ideas as we go through here. So then we have Taurus. And Taurus, this is your fifth house. And the fifth house is about romantic love. It is things that fill our heart. It's fun. It's joy. It can be children. It can be hobbies, right? Anything that we do that connects us directly to our heart. So what does the eclipse do? The eclipse helps remove anything that's blocking us from feeling things fully, from allowing joy to enter into our life. And so this is the time. If you have been dating the same person over and over again, even though they look so different, but they continue to act and treat you the same way, the cycle is about to come to an end. It's time to let that go. Now, the challenge comes from your 11th house of friend groups, maybe even a mentor. Maybe it's a friend who challenges you about the person that you're dating and has been trying to point out to you they're not right for you, and it causes a fight. But instead of fighting, be open to listening to what your friend has to say and be able to disassociate from the advice, as in don't take it personally, but just really listen to it objectively and maybe consider that they're right. And it's time you find that person that is aligned with what your heart truly wants and desires. All right. And now Gemini. So Geminis, this is happening in your fourth house. So was August a month where you were finding a new place to live? Were you looking to buy a new home? Or are you just moving apartments? Or are you just moving out of your family home and into your own place? And now, at the time of the eclipse, any roadblocks to you being able to complete that purchase or make that move can be eclipsed out. But there's challenge, right, in doing this work. So you have to follow the rules, right? That Saturn energy is like, okay, you want to buy a new home? Well, here's all the things. You better make sure you have a really good inspection. You make sure that you've got the best bank loan. Make sure you're working with the right people. Make sure you're not being deceived. Neptune, right? So that's the challenge. It's like, okay, I want this thing. And Saturn says, okay, but to get it, you got to do all this work. And it feels challenging. But when you do it, the kite lifts off the ground and you can fly it in your backyard of your beautiful new home. So that's a positive way that the story can be unfolding for you. So whatever blocks you have, maybe it's your family that's holding you back and not helping you achieve this goal that you have. Whatever's blocking you from succeeding and getting what it is that you want with this new home opportunity, let the eclipse do the work. You just follow the rules, do what you need to do, and it will happen. So I know this happened to a Gemini. I know very well. And they wanted a home and they didn't get it. And guess what? The other people fell through and it came back to them. So that's how eclipse energy works. You just stay faithful through the process, and then what is meant to be will be. So it's happened for them, can happen for you. Then we are, speaking of home and family, here we are again talking about Cancers. So Cancers, this is your third house. And this is a new beginning that can have you find a role in the community that you're a part of, or it could have you actually enrolling in some kind of classes or courses. Anything that's blocking you from speaking up and expressing your feelings, the eclipse can remove that block and give you the courage to speak up and speak out. So just remember that you have to balance this. The third house is the community, and the ninth house is like the world, right? So you have these two extremes. You have to keep in mind the bigger picture, the end result of what it is that you want in this new role in your community. It's not just about getting it. It's about thinking long term. If you do this, where will it lead you? And making sure that you're working on both ends of the spectrum as you go after this. So, understand the consequences of speaking up and speaking out. Long term, what could happen if I speak up, speak out, and this happens to be in my job, and doing so, I could lose my job. Well, this is just saying, then you better be prepared for that outcome and be willing to deal with that, but know that you did the right thing, right? So there's something longer term that you need to consider with whatever you're trying to do that's new, that can involve thinking, speaking, communicating, writing. Where is it going to take you? You need to understand all the rules in that long-term project, not just getting it started now. All right. Then we have Leos. Leo, this is all about the money that you make. Now, it's a little challenging when you have the South Node going through the second house, which is the money that you make. But that can be very beneficial if you have any false beliefs, old family baggage that has to do with self-worth and your ability to make, have, and most especially keep money, because you deserve it and because you're worth it. So that this is great energy to eclipse out those types of thinking, those ancestral storylines that keep blocking you from having the money that you deserve. It can also release you from a job that you're in, or whatever source of income you get, if it's not healthy for you, if it's not aligned with you, and if somehow that money that you get or the person that gives it to you exerts way too much control over you, you're just going to flat out say no and get out. So what's your challenge? Well, of course, it's the 8th house where those debts and those bills are that you do have to pay from the income that you make. So before you do anything crazy, again, you have to have the end result in mind. So if I were to leave this job, or if this job were to leave me, how would I take care of my debts? And sometimes that fear, which can come from Saturn, can keep you stuck and trapped in a job that no longer serves you because you're too afraid of how you will make ends meet. But this is the time to not be reckless, of course, but to trust yourself and your abilities. I mean, you're a Virgo, right? With this energy in your second house, that means you pay close attention to the detail. You have all of your facts straight, and you know how to use your resources in a way that's very responsible. So trust yourself, and the right opportunity will come along for you. Guarantee it. All right. So there we go. Now, speaking of Virgos, as I mentioned, you guys are going through it, right? This is a rebuilding of who you are and what you want and how you want other people to see you. It's learning to stop being so critical of yourself, to stop seeing every line, every wrinkle, stop thinking about every single mistake that you have made in your lifetime up until this point and revisiting it every night between 2 and 4 a.m. Like, just stop. This is the time to just let it go because it's the past and you can't change it. You can learn from it. You can appreciate it. And the thing about this for you is this is all about the relationship you have with yourself and the relationship you have with other people, because this pressure comes from the seventh house. So you got to think about when we have a tendency to be overly critical of ourselves. There's something about that that rubs your partner, your really close friends, the wrong way as well. Because if you're thinking like that about yourself and you're picking at yourself and you're putting yourself down, your partner probably thinks you're thinking the same things about them behind their back, right? It isn't, this is a dead end street. So your partner can help remind you, right? To believe in yourself, to have faith in yourself. And if they don't, if they're actually overly critical of you and they feed your fear and make things worse, then this is a time where that's going to come to a head and those relationships are going to come to an end. And you have to trust the process. You have to let those go, especially if they're toxic, because this is the time to end those toxic relationships and focus on not when will I ever find love again, but when will I be healthy and whole enough to have the partner that supports me so that we're a balanced team instead of at war with one another. So you got a lot of work to do, but I know you can do it because you're hard workers. Then we have Libra, speaking of relationships. So Libras, this for you happens in your 12th house. Now, 12th house work, especially during an eclipse, can be extremely difficult because it's all there in the subconscious mind. So this for you is about clearing negativity, clearing unhealthy thoughts. It is about making peace with any unhealthy choices you've made in the past. Now, for some of you, because the 12th house can be hospitals, large institutions, the eclipse can expose anything that you need to deal with that could potentially be a health concern. But don't be afraid of it, right? It's being exposed for a reason, because that Saturn-Neptune energy is in your 6th house that does rule your health. The 12th house is the mental health, right? The subconscious mind. And the 6th house is your physical body's health. And so we want to bring both of those into good balance. And you want the eclipse to expose and help release anything that is not healthy for you anymore, or expose any health issues that you have that need to be dealt with so that they don't escalate and become something worse. So it could be that as of August, you were starting to investigate something along these lines that has to do with your health. And now with this eclipse energy, you'll be ready to complete, finish, remove whatever that block is, and then restore your health to good balance. And we have Scorpios, and Scorpios, this is your 11th house. And so here we have a new beginning that involves your friend groups. So, remember that conversation we had about Taurus and the 5th house and romantic relationships and partnerships. This can be a time where your romantic partner is challenging you, and maybe they feel threatened by your friends and make it difficult for you to just have girls' night out, for instance. Well, you're going to have to decide, is this healthy, the concern that your partner has, or is your partner right and these friends you have are toxic, and maybe they're the ones that you have to let go of. So that's the scale here, right? The challenge here is deciding which of those relationships is the unhealthy one and which has to go. And if they're both healthy, then this is about getting everybody on the same page so that they don't have any jealousy, don't feel threatened, there's no longer a power struggle, and you can get that out into the open, have a clear conversation, and clear any tension that exists there. And then that way, your relationship, your friendships can have a new fresh start. Or if you are getting rid of toxic friendships, then new friendships can be formed. Here with the sign of Sagittarius, we are looking at the 10th house, which is our career, it's our status, it's our reputation. And that means there can be big changes at work for you. So if you are working in a health field, for instance, it makes sense that if we have some kind of a health event, there can be, big changes. Your work could be very busy, or if there's a shift in the way we approach healing, how you do your work can change. Somebody you work with may be leaving and could open up a new opportunity for you. There's all kinds of ways that this can show up for you. Don't stress, just be open to the opportunity. And this is the time, if you're not doing work that you feel aligned with anymore, then it is the time to let that work go. Now, if you're spending too much time at work, the challenge for you comes from your 4th house of home and family. So this is about learning how to reprioritize the amount of time and attention you focus on family and the amount of time and attention that you focus on your career, and make sure that there's good give and take for both. If not, and somebody isn't supportive of your career, that person may be exiting your family and you're going to pursue your career because you're Sagittarius. You won't be held back. So just learn how to create better balance at home, and then that way you can succeed in a big way, and that kite will fly high, and so will your career. All right, now we have Capricorn. So Capricorn's another earth energy. So this is an eclipse that's beneficial to you. It creates a trine to your sign, and it's in your 9th house. So the 9th house of growth and expansion, foreign people, foreign country, foreign places. And there's some opportunity. Maybe you're somebody who works overseas. Maybe you just recently lost your job overseas. Well, because you had faith and trusted the process, this new opportunity is coming in for you. But it might require some change. So keep in mind, the 9th house is the big picture. We talked about that earlier. And where the pressure comes from is in your 3rd house. So there is some challenge, maybe from an authority figure, that makes you think long and hard about making this change. So it could be that this mentor from your past is the one that reaches out and has this opportunity for you. The work you did in the past may have felt small at the time, but something about what you did, the relationships that you formed, the difference that you made in the community is what is challenging you now, but also providing you this big opportunity. So it's almost a little bit of fear attached to the situation and what happened in the past. But if you're willing to look past that, if you're willing to trust the process, then this new experience won't keep you small. This new experience is going to open big doors for you, big opportunities that will challenge you, but the challenge will be worth it in the end. So don't get stuck too much in your head, because the 3rd house and the 9th house are very much about knowledge. 3rd house, we don't know anything. In the 9th house, we think we know it all, but the truth lies somewhere in the middle. So be open to learning at this time, because it's the opportunity or the position that allows you to learn and grow that will end up being the best fit for you. And even though you thought you had the greatest job in the world before, this new one will end up even better. Next, we have Aquarius. Aquarius, this is in your 8th house. So the 8th house is about death, rebirth, transformation, which you know very well right now because you have got Pluto in your sign working you over, especially you early degree Aquariuses. And I know it is very intense work. So this eclipse energy is literally going to remove any blocks that have not been allowing the transformation that is meant for you to happen. Now, it could be financial blocks, financial resources that you haven't been able to, break through to reaching yet that will come through for you at this time. So if you're waiting on a loan or a loan approval, that will come through and you will get that. But chances are it took a lot of work to get here because, of course, we're talking about the financial houses. The 2nd house, the money you make, and the 8th house, the money you get from other people. So if you're like that Gemini person, you've been wanting to buy a home, then there's been a lot of pressure on you. You might have been overthinking things too much, overanalyzing the amount of money you have and how much this new debt is going to be and going back and forth and should I do it or shouldn't I? And with the help of this eclipse energy and whatever the purchase is, because it's probably a big purchase item that takes on a big debt, it's causing a lot of turmoil. And finally, at the time of this eclipse, the new opportunity will come through, but there was a lot of hard work to get there. So you got to be careful that you too aren't too stuck in your head, overthinking, because when we do that, then we push the opportunity away and we delay it. Like I said, we're talking 19 years of delay if you have to wait a whole cycle. You don't want to do that. So release it, trust the process, know that you've looked over all the facts and all the details. Live within your means. That's the 2nd house and the 8th house storyline. 2nd house, the money we make. 8th house, the money we spend. And we want to make sure that they're balanced and that we don't take on too much debt. And also that we don't hoard our money and don't allow ourselves to spend either, right? They're just good balance. Okay, cheering you on, Aquarius. Next, we have Pisces. And this is the end of the whole storyline, right? So Pisces, here we are. This is about commitment, marriage, very close friendships potentially. And if you had any trouble in your marriage starting last month, well, it is definitely coming to a head now. So this is very intense, but don't shy away from or be afraid of the intensity because this is where we can have breakthroughs, where you can stop being overly critical of your partner, allow them to be who they are, and just focus on yourself, right? This is the balance between what you need and what your partner needs. It's the balance between control and flow, right? This is about having good give and take. And you cannot be the caretaker of your partner. They have to make their own choices and live their own life. They also cannot be controlling you. So if you're in situations where your partner is too controlling and too critical, then those can come to an end. And as a result of that, you will find yourself again and eventually start over fresh and new. So everybody has their own unique storyline. It always depends on what else is being activated in your chart at this time. But there is an opportunity if, for instance, you and your partner haven't been close, then something that's been blocking that closeness, maybe blocking that intimacy, can be exploded, blown up, and removed so that you can come back together stronger than ever before. All right, so those are just some potential ways that this could be showing up for you. But of course, this is very individualized. This is your own personal karma that is creating this journey for you. and everybody has one. And a lot of times it's the people around you's experiences that end up affecting you, and that ends up being your eclipse story because some kind of opportunity was created because of something that changed over here in somebody else's life. This is not just a straight road. This is time to be intrigued and curious, but you should by now be starting to tune in to what is about to make some kind of dramatic change for you and your life and your current goals. All right, guys. I hope this is helpful. If you have questions, always put them down in the comments or message me or on any of my channels. I'm, happy to respond. Keep watching those daily posts so that you can see how the cards are lining up with this energy as well. I am sure they're going to kind of continue to escalate over the next several days. So have some fun with that and join me there as well. And like I said, probably can squeeze in a couple more people before this eclipse actually occurs, but you'll want to book that really quickly. All right, guys. I'm your biggest cheerleader, so let me know how I can help you, and I'll keep you posted on my eclipse journey as it unfolds as well, because of course I have a 29-degree Saturn. I've been going through my Saturn return, and mostly I'm just tired. So, all right, guys, I will see you next week for the full breakdown of the energy after this eclipse, which, yeah, it looks intense, not going to lie. And that's going to be because of the storyline between that Mars and Pluto square, specifically with this kite in the Libra energy. So again, watch last week's video so you have a little bit of a breakdown of what's coming ahead next week as well. But it does promise to also be intense. All right, guys, I will talk with you next week. Thanks so much for coming back and tuning in again this week with me. See you.